our beloved guest speaker, Reverend Dr. Martha Creek. Martha is a friend to both of our unities. She is a joy to listen to. She is exquisitely knowledgeable, and we were talking previous in the early part of we all came onto Zoom about how I always feel that Martha just has a great message, and the kind and gentle way she delivers lets you think about it and then realize it always packs a punch. So we are so delighted to have you here. Just a quick note that Dr. Reverend Martha Creek is a master in the art of right questioning. She calls forth the most stubborn and self-defeating patterns in us to create a new way of being, literally, in a new sense of what we need to do to get rid of the things that do not serve us and presents the things that do. She was ordained in religious science and divine science and attended Emerson Theological Seminary for both her master's and her doctorate. And she's done many, many other learning things. And of course, we know she's presented many, many other training things. So I will shut the slides down and let Reverend Martha take over. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. It's my highest privilege to serve here with you. I was fascinated to see just this morning before I got into this call, I was reading one of my boyfriends besides Jesus is Richard Rohr, R-O-H-R, in case you haven't discovered him. So I'm in a threesome now with Jesus and Richard Rohr. And it was speaking about the real. And it's how we're going to live this out here on the earth. How are we going to do it? How are we going to be it? So as I joined you here today, I heard repeatedly, we are here for living, loving, and learning. And that is the answer to, I think, to that question about how we are going to do this, how we're going to do it. So it's clear in all the teachings, in any traditions, any faith, any whatever you want to call it, any sect of encouragement for us to awaken, to align, to atone, that the work is about a spiritual kingdom. And the physical kingdom cares for itself. Nature has its way of renewing, of rejuvenating, of revitalizing itself. And this spring shows us proof of this in spades. And building and developing and cultivating and expanding a spiritual kingdom is another thing entirely. So my deepest bow to each and every one of you that are here and anybody listening to this message, because if this message has found its way to you, then you're about the real of building heaven on earth, not a place to go, but another something theoretical, something in the sky, but how to make this plane of existence here more heavenly for all of it. So my approach this morning is to share something that's been so meaningful to me over the years, which I've adapted from a reading that inspired me by Dr. Geri Scazzaro, Geriscazzaro, and somebody will put that in the chat for us. And she refers to 8 necessary quits. And I remember using this over the years, and I would open the talk often with, anybody here want to be a quitter? Who wants to be a quitter? Because we're designed not to quit. Oh, don't quit. Push ahead, push ahead, push ahead. But today you're going to be invited to be a quitter. Do some quitting. And I'm going to be looking at things I've got to quit. And I've quit some of it before. So what other degree can I do some more quitting myself? So I'm in here learning with you as I present this again today. The first one is to quit being afraid of what others think. The worst thing they can think about me, the worst thing they can think about you, you've already thought about you. Since the beginning of our earliest memories, we have thoughts about not being good enough, being something's wrong with us. Why did we do that? Ashamed that we did something. So there's nothing anybody else in the world can think about us that are not the same thoughts we're already having. We've just suppressed them, depressed them, denied them, and disowned them. So they're in a reservoir of pain in us So this first quit can be our liberation, our true liberation, to say what others think about me is the same as what I think about me. So then what would I be afraid of? This also takes back our power to stop seeking, or to seek less the approval and the appreciation and the acknowledgement of other people for our own self-worth, which is an insatiable, hopeless endeavor. Have you noticed? The more we seek them to see us in a certain light, the more stressed we get. So anchoring ourselves in the wholeness of our own divinity, anchoring ourselves in the wholeness of God, creator, life, universe, whatever you call that, then is this direct route, instead of taking these detour routes of wanting another person, other groups, or relationships or something, getting any more dependent on those than we already are for our sense of self-worth. So I'll ask you to contemplate, who is it you're relying on for your sense of self? Who is it? And why is that? What's going on there? And then maybe the best question of the day is, what are the consequences to my life? What's the consequences to your life of the insatiable seeking when we're looking to someone else to fill our self-worth and worried about what they think about us? Very high consequences indeed. Number 2 is quit lying. And this isn't lying like, did you take a cookie out of the cookie jar kind of lying. Well, that could be helpful too, because we don't usually feel good about ourselves when we lie. But to live truly free means to have an unrelenting honesty with ourselves, with God, and with other people. And for me, the height of this is to quit pretending. Quit pretending everything is fine. And Marg said at the opening of this today, like one of her favorite quotes from me is people walking around going, how are you? How are you? Fine, fine, fine. Everything's fine. It's all good. It's all good. And I say, well, tell your face, because your face hasn't caught up to how fine you are. So if we just told the truth, if we stopped abandoning our own souls and all the parts of us that knows at times human sadness and grief and despair, they get our panties twisted up. It's like, I'm having a moment here. It won't last. It will pass. And I'm going to quit pretending I'm fine when I'm not. And be a model for other human beings that may be in touch with, and as willing as I am, not to suppress, depress, disown, and deny their humanness in the way of human emotions. So to give a space to them. So to quit lying about anything, and including, for me, it means for me to quit judging lying. So I accept that people are going to lie. One of my biggest lessons about this was with my own baby brother, Randy, who's passed now. And he drank and drank and drank and drank, and went into a rehab unit one time instead of going to jail. The judge gave him the option to go to jail or go to rehab. Well, guess which he picked? And he had a big time in rehab. He runs circles around all of those counselors. He had them wrapped around his little finger. He was charming. He could charm the wings off of a honeybee. And he was in his element there. And they had us in there as a family to process some of this, what may have been causing this, and what was going on in the larger family unit. And we went into a circle, and I kept saying over and over and over to him, quit lying. Just quit lying. Just quit lying. And then somewhere in that, I woke up to what I was saying with, it's me lying to me that he's not going to lie. It's me lying to me that other people won't lie. So instead of waking up to, we all lie at times. It's normal, like it rains, like there's droughts and flood, other things we don't like. And lying is including here. So quit lying. If I want there to be less lying in the world, guess who's got to do it? And which accepts then accepting that other people will. And by the way, so do I at times. And it's often when I'm afraid or worried about how the truth will land. Number 3. Oh, and the reflection question is, what causes you to pretend? What causes you to pretend or say things are fine when they actually aren't yet? Number 3, quit dying to the wrong things. This means anything that's draining your energy off. Situations where you leave the situation thinking, what in the world just happened? It's like my whole battery ran out. Like, oh my God, I got to crawl in here and lay down somewhere. So people, situations, things that you just can't do anymore. The more you continue in this spiritual realm and the depths of our spirituality, there'll be things that we used to do that we maybe even enjoyed that we can't do anymore. One of my teachers over the years has been Byron Katie, and she used to say, you know, I used to do that a lot. I had a lot of fun doing it, and it just left me. Like those things just left me, like I can't do them anymore. So notice what's draining off your energy. What brings you life? What makes your tail wag? Do more of that. And the things that aren't making your tail wag, when you think about it, or you look at your calendar and you see those names or you see those places and you go, ugh, these are indicators that I am dying. I'm killing myself spiritually, at least, emotionally, in some cases, psychologically, for sure, metaphorically, literally, by continuing to put myself in situations that are not true for me. Not as true for me, even though they may have been some other time in my life. So it's like, instead, then it's like, wake up to the gifts that you have, the gifts that God has given you, and then nurture those and put yourself in more delightful situations to be nurtured and to nurture, and quit dying to the things that absolutely suck the life out of us or bring us down. So the contemplation question is, what brings you life? What makes your tail wag? And what distracts you? What's distracting you? Too much of something? Too much social media? Too much scrolling? Where you come away from it and you don't feel alive. You don't feel as alive. So what's draining you? So it's an important piece of our well-being, no different than if we were trying to air condition the rooms that we're sitting in or heat them. I understand it's snowing there. If you were trying to heat that up and you had all the doors and windows open, it's like, it wouldn't be all that efficient. So look at where our doors and windows are to our own spirit is open. If we're trying to get some efficiency here and I've not closed these drains yet, I've not closed these drains of energy. Number 4 is to quit denying anger, sadness, fear, and other things that we've generally classified as negativity. Instead of, these are a part of my human learning processes. There's no one here, me or anybody else, there's no one with a pulse that doesn't experience sadness, grief, anger, blaming, shaming, fear, those emotions. And the fact that we set it up in a binary system of filing and called it BAD is an indicator here. that until that is reintegrated, until that is integrated into our being, that we're living in a bind of it. We're living bound by it. So instead, then embrace our humanity, our divinity as humanity, by paying attention and giving some space to these more difficult emotions and discerning how spirit, God, life, universe is there with us in those times and is supporting us to come through them. God is not missing in those times, ever present in those. So to quit ignoring our feelings, to quit denying that we have them, and certainly to quit judging them and calling them negative or problems or my issues or whatever else we've labeled them over the years. So in contemplation then, what feelings, emotions do you commonly disregard? Do you deny? Or for me, you disown. So whatever we have disowned, denied, suppressed, depressed is a reservoir waiting for us to take the floodgate down. Number 5 is quit blaming. And if you do none of them but this one, it'll absolutely liberate you and make your tail wag. So we're built for blaming. And go to YouTube and look up Brene Brown, Brene Brown, on blaming, and watch her little 10-minute video, and it'll sum it all up for you, and how quick, anytime anything happens, how quick we are to displace our discomfort over onto another person. Displaced pain, displaced anger, displaced discomfort is what blaming is. So this means then for some of us, whoever of us who can, to do less of this blaming. I can't even say quit with a straight face, because the only people that I know that don't blame are dead people. And that's marginal. I mean, that's to be determined. But in the meantime, back at the ranch, we can do less blaming for our own selves, for our own salvation, and take responsibility for the shape I'm in and for doing something about it. And just quit giving away my God-given personal power and freedom, my innate power and freedom, over to something that is just my discomfort being displaced onto another person. And if none of this makes sense, just think for a minute how much you like it when somebody else blames you. What happens? What's it like when somebody's pinning the blame on you? Well, that's a reason not to do it, because how it feels when it's coming our way. That should be enough, could be enough today to awaken us to the pain of this blaming. Number 6. Oh, and then in reflection, who's getting the brunt of your blaming and what's going on there, and who blames you routinely, and what's the impact of that? Start to notice what the impact is. Number 6, quit over functioning or do less. This is a word that comes from emotionally healthy spirituality and family systems theories about how we function in our families and in our relationships and in our jobs and other things. So it's defined, over functions defined as know where I begin and end and they begin and end. Know what is actually my responsibility and what is not my responsibility. And most of us here have a helper gene. And I say, I didn't get the gene, I got the whole DNA strand to help, be a helper. I just posted this morning from from Fred Rogers, he said his mother told him to go out in the world and look for the helpers, find the helpers. Well, those of us that are helping, if we're not careful, will run ourselves right in the ground because we lack some balance at times. So if we do less overfunctioning, quitting overfunctioning, it means that we stop doing for others what they could actually do for themselves. So just like we won't keep tying a kid's shoe when they're 33, we taught them to tie their own shoe. And as long as we keep tying it, they will not learn to tie it. So not doing for others what they could actually do for themselves. And the biggest thing here for me is to quit trying to control people. To quit trying to control people, quit trying to live their lives for them, quit trying to put this is the way you should be off on them. And to wake up to the consequences of this include the more I overfunction, the more they're going to underfunction. It is a reciprocal law. So if I want them to get more functioning, more able-bodied, I've got to reel this in. So begin to notice who you do for, who are you doing for, and what for are you doing that? And what are the consequences? Because our overfunctioning for me leaves me with exhaustion. It also leaves me with resentments. And the irony that I'm going to resent them for something I did for them. Ridiculous that I keep doing and doing and doing, and then start to resent others for what I'm actually doing. So there's real power here. Number 7, quit faulty thinking. And most of the thinking is faulty. Traffic should flow. People should be kind 100% of the time. I shouldn't be this way. What are some examples of your faulty thinking? I know what's best. They should listen to me. So any should is faulty thinking. All shoulds oppose reality. All shoulds oppose reality. So you may start with that. I've worked for this on decades of it, and I've, for the most part, eliminated should from my vocabulary. I do not speak it. And if I speak it, I do a redo. And I wake up to, I just said a should. And you've heard it over and over. Don't should on yourself. And for all the glory, don't should on others. So eliminating it from my speech. And then when I catch it, I redo it. So instead of traffic should flow, becomes traffic doesn't flow at times. Back to reality. Over and over and over, a return to reality. So this means that I'm choosing then spiritually to live in reality and a truth that is unmistakable. It's undistorted truth that says traffic doesn't flow at times instead of traffic should flow. And people are not kind at times. I'm not kind at times either, particularly to myself. So kind at times, unkind at times. Respectful at times, disrespectful at times. Flood at times, drought at times. Snow in March on those beautiful spring flowers. Dang. This is reality. This has to be included. And then number 8, quit living someone else's life. This comes from being pressured to go along, to get along, to stay the same, to follow traditions, without ever questioning, is this true for me? In my family, they didn't value education. They weren't able to have much of an education. My dad had 5th grade education only. My mother went to 8th grade only. Both of my brothers quit school as soon as they legally could at age 16. And I wanted education. I wanted to keep going. So this was my own innate impulse. This was what God had given me, the impulse for this. And if I had have gone along in the family, I wouldn't have been able to do it. Versus going along with living my one unique, unrepeatable life. To fulfill the destiny of my life, I cannot succumb to the pressures of trying to be something other than what I actually am. What I was designed to do, what I was designed to be, and to live that out in the world is the highest of integrity for me and in my relationship with Creator. So there's our quits. And any one of these has liberated me over and over. So I'm renewed in them today, hearing them again. And I bless you in your journey. MarthaCreek.com to contact me. I love you, each and every one. Thank you for what you're doing in the world. Honored to be here with you today. And you're welcome to join any of the programs that I have, which are not publicly put out in some cases because of the depth of the work that we do. Immersive work. Cheryl has information about that, and some of the others here, Sonia, and Extraordinary Leaders Program. So you're welcome to contact me, MarthaCreek.com, for more information about anything that I'm about or doing. You're always welcome to come in it. Namaste. It's time to integrate this a bit. Meditation is a way to live out new ideas, new insights. So we pause now for an integration of this teaching. So I invite you in a time of quiet to imagine yourself integrated in this. And who you would be and what it would be like to be fearless about thoughts. Literally, absolutely fearless. How would it feel? A sense of it in your body. And how you would express in the world. How would you be in the world? Fearless about thoughts. Free of pretending. Free, done with pretending. And alive and moved by what interests you. Clear and guided about what you're here for, how you're here to serve. Get a sense of allowing reality to be as reality is. Resisting nothing. proactive and active to change what you can actually change. Accepting what you cannot. And knowing the difference. And imagine being free of all the pressure to be something that you're not. We give thanks for this time to awaken, to atone, to align, to renew ourselves. We give thanks for this space, this invitation, this foundation. And we begin again now. So be it. Amen.